Welcome to ORUathletics.com. I'm Eric Scott here with head women's soccer coach Roger Bush. The Golden Eagles this season finished with a 4-10-3 record. Coach, what were some of your parting thoughts to the girls as you go and win in the offseason?
Well, I think that the most important thing that we asked them to do was to frame the season in a correct perspective. There were a lot of challenges that the season threw at us, and historically, if we look at that record in the Summit League, we're not really that far off. I mean, that's and we're not happy with that. We want to improve that, and I think that there's been a message of developing a culture of excellence. I think the girls are very bought into that. I think they actually have already promoted the idea of setting certain standards, and we want to increase and raise standards. We're not happy with 4-10-3, but we also have to realize and we have to be fair in our assessment of the season, and in many ways it was actually a really good season. There were moments of the season that produced great promise, and at the end of the day, there was always going to be a marginal difference between what is great and maybe what is not so great. And so within that frame of reference, there was success, there was failure, and we've got to look at both.
Talked about it was kind of a tough season. There were some tough things, but there was also a lot of bright things. Played 5 power conference teams this season. You shut out Baylor with a scoreless draw. A lot of games. You went to SMU, beat SMU for the first time in Dallas. There are a lot of bright spots. What are some of your thoughts on the schedule and how they played throughout the year?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm most proud of is that the girls didn't just accept the schedule; they embraced that. And whenever we've met with them in the postseason, they've been like, we want more of that. And so that's first and foremost. We love the idea that we have kids that love a challenge. They want the challenge. They know to grow, that they have to stretch themselves, and that sort of attitude is something that we're proud to have. In our clubhouse. I think that's a big deal. And we look back at the season, and I mean, the Oklahoma game was a great second half performance. It was probably one of the best performances against a team that is top 15 in the country. You mentioned the draw against Baylor. We actually played with 10 men. That's overlooked a lot of times, but we played about a half hour with 10 men in that game, and they were Big 12 semifinalists. Beat SMU on the road, which is a big one. And you can look at the Cal Poly game. They're an NCAA tournament team. We were close here to getting a result against them. And there's some other results through the season that we can be very proud of. But at the same time, there's a hump that we want to get over, and so we're pushing towards that.
Talk a little bit about the outgoing seniors, some of the veteran support they had on the field and on the bench for all the young girls.
Well, it's difficult to characterize in words the outgoing seniors. I would say this. One of the things that may be overlooked in this season is, you get to the record books and the statistics of the season, and I really hope that the season for them doesn't become defined by that 4-10-3 record. It began its definition last spring, whenever they came into the office and they're like, Coach, we see the schedule. We want to take on that schedule. We're going to lead the team through that schedule. And as we went game to game, the spirit of the team was maintained, and that's due to their leadership. And you consider the body of work of that senior class, and the 2 years that we played in the Southland Conference and making the conference tournament and contending for a conference championship, their body of work is tremendous on the field. And if you get off the field, it is even greater than that. There are things that they do in service to their community and love for their teammates, the friendships that they form within the team, family culture that they've cultivated. All of those things are just enormous and eternal impacts that they're making.
Talked about the seniors. A lot of young girls contributed this year. Lexi Jones, Amanda Dial, among others. Talk about the newcomers to the team and what they contributed this season.
Well, I think as we begin to talk about that, we can talk about first. We had a very youthful team in terms of experience. So not just the freshmen, but we had a sophomore class that really didn't come in with a ton of experience. And when we look ahead to the future, we think that a lot of these kids that didn't have a ton of college experience this year, we're returning a team, a great majority of players that gained a lot of experience this year against a really good schedule. So we're really excited about all the young kids. I thought our freshman class did fantastic. They began partway through the season playing with a bit more confidence, and then I also, when we look at our sophomores and juniors, some of them that didn't have a lot of college experience, which is just a product of an evolving program, they've got college experience now, so it makes you excited for what's ahead.
Okay, wrapping up here, as you go forward, what are some of the things that you're going to kind of continue to focus on with the young girls? Are you going to kind of change styles of play? Because we're, now you're getting your players, so change style of play. What do we need to? What are we going to see from the future of the women's soccer program?
Okay, well, if we're talking about transition of style of play, that's been kind of an ongoing process. There's a little difference between the Bush brothers and style of play. So I think the kids have embraced that and adapted well to it. Obviously, we are far from perfecting it, and so I don't know that we're changing style of play. We thought that the OU game, the Baylor game, the Cal Poly game, even the Utah game. Unfortunately, in the Texas Tech game, we didn't get to see much of it, but we thought that style of play gives us and confers to us an opportunity to play national tournament teams, and ultimately our goal is to get into national tournament and not to be a one-and-done team, but to be a team that can go to the first round and get to the next part of the tournament. So to do that, we think the style of play is where we want it to be. We just have some perfections that some kinks that we've got to work out to try to get it closer to perfect. Now, we're focusing on culture of excellence, as I alluded to earlier. So those are things that involve standards within the program, commitments to maybe not using victory as a measuring stick, but measuring ourselves against our capacity. Maybe in the past we've won some games but not been excellent. We've got to be careful to make sure that we're measuring ourselves right. And then we're just on the field. We know that this year we didn't convert opportunities to chances, and we were really poor at converting chances to goals. We were very inefficient, and a lot of folks might say, well, that's unlucky, or the sport's cruel, you could have scored more goals and you just didn't. But we're not going to accept it for that. We've got to take action and sort out what were the problems, what were the issues, and I think we've got a group of kids that are just motivated to go do that, to go take action, find solutions, and to get better.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Coach. Like I said, the women's soccer team finishes the season with a 4-10-3 record. Stay up to date with ORU women's soccer all through the offseason. You can follow us on Twitter at ORUWSoc, or go online to ORUathletics.com.